Okay, I'm going to end this now, but if you said 350, you are correct. It's now 350. So we've had quite a few over last year. These are just some of the areas they point to or where they're located, just the little dots there. Now, this is coming from gunviolencearchive.org, which considers anything that is 4 or more deaths or injuries. Okay, 4 deaths or 4 injuries is what it needs in order to be classified as an active shooter for them. Now, everyone has a little bit of different perspective on what they classify. So, for example, FBI, DHS, they all have, excuse me, different categories and different amounts of fatalities and so forth. But if you said 350, you are correct. So last year we had 350. It might be a few more above that because we had just a few just at the end of the year. So yeah. We also had one last weekend in Florida at the airport. So they are increasing. Now, the videos and the content you might see may be graphic in nature, some of the videos. Just want to make sure you know that right now. It shouldn't be too graphic today because today we're going to talk a lot about situational awareness. So if this is going to cause you any concern, let us know now. Okay. Just wanted to make sure. Just want to check. You never know. Don't want anybody to faint and fall out of their chair there at work. Okay, so let's get into the problem a little bit. So when we look at the problem and why and where they occur, they're occurring a lot in the business and in schools. Now, the reason why they occur there so often is because it's more of a target of opportunity. There's a lot of people in businesses and a lot of people at school with very little security. So if a shooter is going to go to a place or case a place, they're going to look for security so that they know they're not going to get disrupted. Now, in some cases, there's been a couple school shootings where it was just a target of opportunity. It was 3 miles away from wherever they were going, it was the next public building from where they had already shot. So in that case, those are kind of the outliers. But for the most part, they happen in businesses and schools. Now, there is a percentage of outdoors, and outdoors is really the interesting one because you really don't have a lot of places you can run or hide unless you are in a good venue that has plenty of obstacles around it. Most of the time in an outdoor environment, you just have to fight back. Hopefully everyone's aware that the DHS's approved curriculum is run, hide, fight. So that is their approved model for active shooters and for teaching active shooter and what to do when an active shooter situation happens. Now, these incidents, they typically end in less than 5 minutes. Now, the majority of them are over in less than 10 or 15 minutes, but the majority, the very, like 69% of them are over in less than 5 minutes. Now, this is important because if you think about it, you are the first responder in reality. So 43% in before law enforcement arrives. Law enforcement, it can take 3 minutes, it can take 10 minutes. There's been situations like the San Bernardino shooting where it took 3 minutes for the first law enforcement officer to arrive. Pulse nightclub, it was 3 minutes before law enforcement arrives and before they made entry. So those are some pretty good responses, but it just depends on where law enforcement is at the time. So they could be 30 minutes away, they can be 15 minutes away. It depends on your city, it depends on where you are. So in reality, if they end in less than 5 minutes and it takes upward of 15 minutes for them to get there and to make entry into the scene, you have to be in the mentality that you are the first line of defense, are the first responders in active shooter situations. And this number is just a little bit up from where it was last year, but 13% of incidents end with unarmed citizens or bystanders or the victims themselves taking down the active shooter. That number should be higher. There should be no reason why it's so low, because when we think about active shooter situations, we want to learn run, hide, fight. Well, fighting is the last resort, but active shooters are usually not trained people. They're not trained in military tactics. They're not trained in police tactics. And there has been a few cases where they were, but for the majority of them, they're not. So any little disruption can take them down. Now, these are some potential indicators. I want you to look at this list. I'm not going to read everything out myself, but I want you to look at this list and I want you to go through it and see what you think. See some of these that stand out to you. Paranoia. And usually it's more of a snowball. There's more than one thing that's going on here. There's more than one thing that has been happening to an individual for them to want to commit a crime like active shooter. And usually it's because financial or mental instability, or they have other things going on, and it's never just a snapping point, okay? Very, very, very few of them have ever been just a snapping point. There are more people who have things that have been building up over months and years, okay? Even when the FBI went back and did research, they went and looked at the 10 most analyzed cases. And out of those 10 most analyzed cases, they found that none of them had snapping points. They all just had things and anger and other situations that were building up over time. Columbine, Newtown, Connecticut, all of those was never a snapping point. It was just a buildup of stuff. Now, the reason why we talk about potential indicators is because you have to know how to report them. So reporting these up or talking to management or talking to their in-house security or something like that is really what's going to help in that case. Now, precipitators, what lead people to commit an active shooter incident? Well, hostile conflicts at work, financial difficulties, legal problems, domestic problems. It's usually not one or the other. Think about it. So if I were, let's say, for example, let's just use me as an example. Say I was working and I was really bad at what I was doing, but I had a really good positive attitude. And they're like, well, let's switch you to another job. Well, that's already a factor right there. See, involuntary job changes, different roles, right? But what if I needed this job because I had financial problems at home and I had so much, I had a new kid or I had something going on, so then you financial difficulties. Well, what if I get laid off? See how this is a snowball effect and things happen? So that could lead to legal problems. So now I have more of these building up over time that's causing, that could be a precipitator to a violent act. And this is a violent act, not just active shooter incidents, but a violent act. So these are what lead people to want to commit violent acts. All right, so our main topic today, situational awareness. Now, situational awareness is your ability to be aware of those things that are happening around you. If you can pick up on changes or pick up on things that happen around you and perceive them and know how to react to some of this stuff, it can save your life. And if you think about it, let me give you an example. I'm notorious for this. You go home, you see your wife's significant other, and they cut their hair. But us guys, we never notice it, right? So they might have cut it 1 inch. The problem is that it's a very small change, okay? So in that case, it's really hard for your brain to be aware of that. Now, unless you're really being aware of what's going on, you're really looking and you're taking the time to look at someone or look at things that might have changed, you're not going to notice it. The reason why is because your brain has a way of tricking you. What our brain does is our brain takes a mental snapshot of the things it sees every single day. Your office, your significant other, your kid, your coworkers, and when you're dealing with those situations or you're in those areas again, it lays a snapshot over what you're seeing. So it's kind of tricking you at this point. So you're not able to see them. Now there is a major caveat to that. If there's a major change, that's when you're going to notice it. That's why it does that in the first place. It was one of our, it's more of a evolutionary thing. When we see that major change triggers our brain to think about that situation. For example, you go home and your wife or significant other cut their hair 6 inches, or it's bald. You're going to notice it, right? It's going to be major. You're like, what did you do? Excuse me. The reason why you can do that is because your brain it tells you, hey, there's something major going on. For some other people, maybe you're driving home and you notice a 3-story building popped up over there on the right-hand side. Now, that's a change, okay? That's something that's going on. Now, in our workplaces, it's a little bit different. Maybe somebody's wearing the small things we need to look out for. Maybe somebody's wearing the wrong or dressed the wrong way for the weather. Maybe somebody's nervous and won't make eye contact. Maybe they're fidgeting and they're not talking the way that you would normally expect someone to talk to you. These are all things that we can perceive. Can anybody think of anything that would happen in your daily environment that you would perceive? Anything that's kind of major or small that might indicate something's out of place or something's going on? Nothing? No one? Not yet? Come on. Okay, suspicious vehicle. That's good. That's very good, Stephanie. Anyone else have anything good? I remember going to a business once and I asked my coworker to drive around because I wanted to see what their security was like. And I wanted to look at a fence that I knew they had access to the back of their building. And then we went into the business and the security guard's like, I saw you guys over there. That was good situational awareness because he saw a suspicious vehicle. Um, Evasive answers. That's great. That's an amazing one. So someone's talking to you, and usually evasive means they're lying. And so if they're lying, what are they hiding? So if you ask, "Hey James, what do you have going on today?" And you go, "Oh, well, what do you have going on?" That's kind of being evasive. Or maybe you asked, "Hey, what'd you do this weekend?" I didn't really do much. How was the game yesterday? So they're being evasive about what they're talking about. So that's good, Jamie. Okay, so yeah, those are some perceived changes. Okay, good. Physical appearance can be, yes. Yeah, so that's something too to be aware of. Somebody starts talking about a gun or any kind of weapons they might have or some things they're into. Those are very good things to look out for. And those are things you really, really want to start reporting. So somebody's like, yeah, I just started going to the gun club. Small things shouldn't be a big problem, but like, yeah, I'm starting to carry my pistol in my vehicle now. Those are things to think about. And you're right on with that. Could be religious changes, yeah, because active shooter incidents usually happen for ideology, revenge, anger. There's a ton of different reasons. Now, when we talk about situational awareness, there's an author that's really want to bring to light. His name is Jeff Cooper, and he was the godfather of the modern firearm safety system. He basically developed the gun conditions for the military and all the safety rules for the military. If you've ever taken a gun safety class, he's probably the one that you're really listening to something that was built by him. Now, he also did a lot of work in situational awareness and readiness of the mind when it comes to dealing with events and when it comes to dealing with things that happen every single day. So Jeff Cooper was a former Marine, and then he went on to open up the American Pistol Institute and teach police, firefighters, and military how to respond to stuff. Now, he came up with these conditions, these color codes. White, yellow, orange, and red are his color codes. Gray and black were added to the model later on by other combat researchers. Now, condition white, white and yellow, your heart rate's normal. Okay, and we'll get into what each one of these mean here in a little bit, but I kind of want to talk about heart rates here in a second, what's going on with the body. In orange, you're still elevated, okay, but in red, this is where it's getting really, really fast. This is where your heartbeat is 115 to 145, and if you're not aware of this, your normal heartbeat is 60 to 100, okay? So your body's physiological condition, it really does play has a part in situational awareness and what's going on in your mindset. So why you are unaware of what's going on. You don't know what's going on around you, and even if something was to happen, you're saying this doesn't happen here. This can't be happening to me. You're kind of out of it. You're just worrying about your work. You're worrying about your daily life, and you just don't pay attention to what's going on around you. Yellow, you're relaxed, but yellow, you're paying attention to little things, and you're not going to be caught off guard if something happens. So I always like bringing up this example. Say, because we all do this, we all go to the ATM. I'm assuming everybody goes to the ATM at some point in their life. White would be going up to the ATM and not even paying attention to those who are around you, maybe those who are in line behind you, or even maybe the location and maybe how bad of a location it might be. Yellow is the mindset you're in. If you go to the ATM but you're paying attention and you're looking for shifty people or you're looking for people behind you and whether they're paying attention to how you're entering your PIN or something like that, that's the mindset. And these are all different mindsets, okay? Orange, this is where you've jumped from, you typically go from yellow to orange, okay? So your body transitions. It's kind of a trigger in the mind. And what happens when you go to orange is you perceive that something is out of place. This is where you notice somebody was being invasive. You saw some suspicious vehicle, and you saw somebody had some religious changes and now is being a little bit more extreme about their religion. Maybe their personal appearance, or you saw those little changes, and now you're trying to think, okay, well, if this person does this, I'm going to do this. You're at the ATM. You're in condition yellow, so you're totally aware of what's going on around you and what's happening. And now you see some suspicious person over to the left beside you, and they're walking up. Maybe you saw some bulge on their side or something like that. It might indicate a concealed weapon or something. And you're now thinking, if this person comes towards me or talks to me, I'm going to do this. Or I'm going to pull my card out and start yelling at the ATM saying, where's my money? I got paid yesterday. I can't believe this is happening to me. Why me? Which is a good thing to do if you ever, you're ever thinking about that, or somebody that ever possibly going to attack you. Yell, because if you have no money, they don't want to attack you, right? So orange, that's where you're perceiving things are not right. And then red is a shift. It's another trigger. So in reality, red is that trigger of the adrenaline in your body. So in orange, you're almost there. Red, something's happening to you, and now you're doing whatever you can to survive. So that is that fight or flight response, okay? And now, we typically know it as a fight or flight response, but I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that here in a second, okay? So your adrenal glands release adrenaline into the bloodstream, and your brain triggers a response, and you're either going to flee the situation or you're going to fight back for your life. And everyone's a little bit different about what they do. Now, that's red. So there's two triggers in reality. There's the trigger from yellow to orange, and there's the trigger from orange to red. In some cases, people can go from that condition white into condition red. Okay? If they're able to do something, they can go from that condition white into condition red. Okay? Now, gray is a little bit different. Gray is where you are in the fight, and you're fleeing the situation or you're fighting back for your life, but you're starting to get tunnel vision. Okay, your vision is starting to come down to about 10 degrees, and all you can see is the stuff going on in front of you. You're not paying attention to the stuff around you. The reason why this is important is because if you can perceive that you're in the gray condition, you can calm down and bring yourself back into red, where you need to be. Excuse me, everyone. Sorry, my throat is a little dry, getting over a little bit of a cold. So gray is where you need to perceive that you're in gray, bring yourself back to red. Okay, and the last one, black, is where you haven't prepared yourself mentally for anything, and you go straight into a freeze. And I'm going to talk about that here in a second, because in reality, our human response is not fight or flight. It's really fight, flight, or freeze. It's those three things. So in most cases, the people who live their life in white will shift straight to black. They'll freeze. This is where your lack of planning, lack of preparation, and lack of situational awareness have led you to a point where you don't know what to do. And instead of running or instead of fighting back, you freeze. Your body shuts down. This is a mental and physical thing. It's not just a mental thing, okay? Now, the reason why we talk about this is because it's important. So let's say we're at ATM and we're in white and we live our life in white, and somebody comes up and punches us to take our ATM card or our money, and we just freeze. We don't think that's going from white to black, okay? But if you're aware of what was going on, you saw the person coming, they lose the element of surprise, plus they lose a lot of other things, and you're able to respond effectively, efficiently. So when we talk about situational awareness, there's things that you need to be aware of. You need to be aware of people, exits, and cover. And the reason why we talk about this is because those are important. Those are the things you need to be perceiving every single day, and things you need to be looking at every single day, especially when it comes to active shooter situations and preparing yourself for an active shooter situation. Now, when we look at these items, you want to, every day when you go into a place, or you go into a new place, or you're at your work, you want to locate 2 to 3 exits. You want to know, how can I get out in the event there's an emergency? Not just active shooter situations, but any emergency. What if one's blocked? You need to know where the other one is. Or like you're going to the nightclub or you're going out for a good time. You don't just go in that one door. You don't just look for that one door you went in, you got your ID checked, whatever. You want to find other exits, okay? Especially if alcohol is going to be involved, because then that gives you the ability to think a little bit harder about how to get out. Okay, if you're already prepared, you don't have to worry when you're in a altered mental state because of alcohol and so forth. Locating cover and concealment. So cover is anything that's going to protect you from gunfire, but concealment is anything that's going to hide you from the line of gunfire, but not necessarily protect you. So look for those. There's not any great number there, magical number, but just keep in mind places where you can hide or you can get cover. So concrete, really good, because concrete will stop, could stop a bullet depending on how it's been laid. If it's thick concrete or if it's very thin concrete. Look at individuals. So looking at people as they're coming in and they're going, or people who are sitting around you. Not profiling people, not saying, oh, that person's probably going to be the active shooter if there is one, but looking at how people are, looking at their body language, because as you know, 70% of our language as humans is body language. So your body language tells a lot, okay? So look at people, look at how they're acting, look at, maybe what they're wearing, if it's baggy, if it's 90 degrees outside and they're in a trench coat or something like that. Or if people are sitting up or standing up or sitting down, maybe they're grabbing the back of their shirt. Because if people do that, they're either, one, wearing a really short shirt, which they probably should get a new wardrobe, or two, they're trying to conceal a weapon. Because some people that conceal weapons behind their, like in the small of their back, will grab the back of their shirt when they sit down or stand up so that they can keep that weapon concealed. So thinking about those little things can help you out, and things to look at for individuals. And then trust your gut or instincts. Can everybody guess why I'm saying trust your gut or instincts? Anyone at all? Anyone have an idea? Yeah, so sometimes things just feel wrong. Well, great. Yeah. It's usually a warning. Very, very good. Yes, you are correct. Your instincts are generally correct. And even in an emergency situation, ask police officers, ask ex-military or active military, ask anyone. When it comes down to a stressful situation, your body will rely on 2 things. Your mind will rely on 2 things. Your instincts and your gut, okay, or your gut, and then your training. So instincts and training is always what we fall back on, always. So trusting your gut and trusting your instincts and being correct, because you are generally correct when you feel something's out of place or something's just not right. Most people ignore it, and those people who ignore those things are the people who live their life in white. Okay. Now, like I said before, we have that natural human response, which is fight, flight, or freeze. Okay. Now, in freeze, you went from white to black. Okay. You went straight from the condition white into condition black, and your body just wasn't ready. Mentally, you weren't ready, and in some cases, this is where people void themselves. Okay. They just body freezes up, doesn't know what to do, and they void themselves. Um, but also fight or flight. So if you were able to fight or flee the situation, you went from yellow. In some cases, some people can go from white, okay? But in most cases, it's people who live their life in that yellow area, and they're not paranoid, but they're thinking about what's going on around them, and they go into red. So they go yellow, orange, red. And they can fight the assailant or fight whatever's going on or flee the situation. Most people don't realize this, but you go into the fight, flight, or freeze response multiple times a day. I guarantee everybody goes into it at least 2 times today. Okay, if you were in traffic on your way to work this morning and somebody cut you off and you just started yelling at them, or you just said, whatever, I'm going to be in the greatest attitude today. That is fight or flight. You've decided, your body released a little bit of adrenaline, and your brain was able to comprehend what you were going to do. Okay, so you went into, or maybe you're grocery shopping and somebody was really rude to you. Anytime you're in a stressful situation, you typically go into the fight or flight response. Your adrenal glands will release a little bit of adrenaline, and you'll have to choose what you do. Okay. Some people, if you maybe you walked to your car at night and you heard something spooky, or you said something spooky, some situations will cause that trigger. Okay. Now, if you're aware that you go into this every single day, this is good, because perceiving that you go into the fight or flight and perceiving what you did mentally and thinking about it can change your response the next time. Okay. Now, here at Alamom, we came up with this nice little nifty acronym to help you remember the things to look out for, okay? So alert, locate, analyze, monitor, organize, move. This is Alamom, right? So alert, stay alert to your surroundings. So observe individuals. And that's one of those. There's actually 2 of those checklist items I was telling you about. Locate. Locate the direction that your closest exits are. That's pretty much all 3 of them right there. So just in the A and the L alone, you're knocking out your daily checklist. Analyze. Analyze situations. So if you do go in fight or flight, analyze the situation. Analyze where the person is, where the threat's coming from, and know where your closest escape paths are. You should already know where your closest escape paths are, because you looked for them ahead of time. You identified them before you came into that facility, into that room, or that business. You found them. Okay. Monitor your instincts and feelings. Remember to trust your gut and trust your training. Okay. So, like I said, trust your gut. And when it comes down to situations, you're going to rely on 2 things: your instincts and your training. Okay. Organize. If you have to fight back, and this is if an active shooter situation happened, or if you went into fight or flight or freeze, organize. Organize together if you're going to fight, because this gives you the greatest chance of survival. Okay. The more people you have acting against that one untrained active shooter, the better off you'll be. Okay? And move. If something happens, make a decision and move. Don't hesitate. Hesitation is what gets you killed. Commit to your actions and go full force, especially if you're going to fight back. Go full force. Don't hold back. So, and don't hesitate. Okay, I got a little video here. Hopefully this works out correctly. I'm going to turn up my volume just a little bit, put it towards the mic. This might be a little bit choppy because it's online. I don't have a way to share the video. Hopefully you'll be able to see it correctly. But I want to know here at the end, I'm going to ask you a question. So kind of pay attention to the video and what's going on.
Got some news today from the radio man. Spoke the words somber and softly as a candle stood still. and the sky opened up. I made my way to fill up my coffee cup. Then it occurred to me as the daylight sky shone blue, today's the day that Johnny met June. He waited a while, he knew that he was gonna hang around here for as long as good days went by. And hours had passed, he was never sure just how long he would last. But there's not much love in a lonely room. Today's the day that Johnny met June. Have a good summer. You too. Yes.
Hey, Mr. Boyd.
No way.
Is this the guy that I was writing in the library? Yeah.
Guilty. So you like to write on desks.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Is that any better? Can you guys hear me okay now? Looking at my audio. Okay, good. All right. So did that freeze up on you? Did anybody see those little things that we saw before? Did anybody see during the video how there were signs?
He waited a while, he knew that he was gonna hang around here as long as good days went by. Hours passed, he was never sure just how long he would last. But there's not much love in a lonely room. Today's the day that Johnny met June. Have a good summer.
You too.
Thanks.
Hey, this before.
No way.
This is the guy that I was writing in the library. Yeah.
Guilty. Right on desks.
Yeah, that's what I do.
So did anybody see those little signs that were behind the other actor? Most people don't typically see those. Most people are paying attention to the main person or the person who is in the video and not to those other little signs. I see a few of them. Okay. Some people saw them. They saw them reading. Some saw the meme. Yeah. So it's we have to pay attention to what's going on around us. If we don't, then we're not able to see those things that are happening and perceive those things that are happening. Like in this example, we're watching this one student, but behind that student, there's always this other student who's displaying signs of committing an active shooter event or some kind of aggression. He was memeing about a new gun that he had found or he had gotten. He was watching videos in the library. If you watch behind the other student, he was watching videos about shooting. And he was being bullied. That's another one. So being bullied or isolation from people is typically another thing to look out for. What else was he doing? He also did this little trigger thing, when his teacher came by. So those are all things that we can look out for. And this is a very, very, very powerful video. This was produced for, I believe it was by Sandy Hook. Yep, that's Sandy Hook Promise. Very, very powerful. There's a couple of videos that they're starting to put out. They started just after the Sandy Hook shooting, obviously, but there's plenty of videos out there about situational awareness too, like the monkey business illusion. That's another one that's a very great video that shows that if you're paying attention to one thing, you can always miss something else that's going on. So being able to perceive those little changes and those other little things going on around you, besides just your daily work, is what's going to help save your life. Now we have different offerings here. So I've talked a little about situational awareness. I think it's fair I talk a little bit more about what we do. We have an active shooter response class. It is available online and it's also available in person. The in-person experience is probably the best one, hands down, because you get questions, you get to share as a group, you get activities and hands-on demonstrations. But we run that. It's 4 hours, but can be 3 hours. It's 3 hours, and it can be converted, and we can put stuff from businesses into that. So your response plan, if we ever came out and dedicated to your location, which is another one that's down there. So we do private events. It's between 1 and 4 hours, whatever is needed, whatever you think is needed. We can set the content up in such a way that we look at your facility, we look at your plans, and then we put that into our training for your employees or for you. We also do on-site risk assessments where we come out and we look at your business, and we look at the physical aspects, because any good security person will tell you that a building is like an onion. So the more layers of the onion somebody has to get through to get to the people, that's the goal there. We want a lot of layers, okay? So we also do private company webinars. We just finished up a OLA class, or online anytime. Basically, it's about a 1 hour class where we can assign it to you inside of a portal of your own, and we can assign all the people you want to take this class, and they can go in whenever they're available and go through and click through this interactive course to learn about situational awareness and learn about active shooter incidents. So these are some of the other things we do. And we do drills too, so we can come out, coordinate with you, to perform a drill for your location. So I think we bring a very unique aspect to the table when it comes to drills because we care, and we take the setting up and the implementation of the drill. We do a lot of the work for you, so you don't have to. All the way through the last step, which is where we run the drill and we give you the findings and we talk to you about what everybody did and how many people were injured, how many people were killed, how many people made it out safely, and we judge and make sure that your plan is effective. And you can take those little key learning things that you learn from the drill, and you can implement them back into your plan, because any good business should have a plan in place. For any good active shooter response plan or program should have a plan in place that their employees know that they can read what to do, how to do it, and what to look out for, basically. So other than that, I'm going to open it up for questions. If there's questions, feel free to put them in that little question pod, and I'll answer them as I see coming around.
Jamie wants to know what your thoughts are on using fire-safe filing cabinets as a hiding cover location.
You know, the fire safe ones are pretty good because they're built really sturdy, and they can, I don't know about locking yourself into a safe, but getting behind a safe or any area around them, those are perfect because they provide enough cover from gunfire. Depending on the gun, every gun is different. So rifles have a higher velocity, so that means they can travel through more objects, and pistols have a lower velocity, so they don't travel through as many objects, but they have a higher or larger projectile. Hopefully that answers your question, Jamie. So this webinar and a private webinar would be a little different. Similarities would be we would tailor the webinar towards your business, and we would talk about the run, hide, fight method. We would talk about other things besides just situational awareness, and we put situational awareness in there. And then it would be a webinar that every one of your employees can jump onto, or select employees at select times, and they can jump onto and do the same thing we're doing today, where we're doing a question and answering. They can look at the content, they can play the videos, and so forth. Hopefully that answers your question, Angela. Okay, Ms. Holloway. I'm assuming it's Miss. Yes, because you told me before. Yes, if you guys have questions, comments, concerns, here's our emails. Feel free to send us an email, get myself or Brandy on the phone, talk more about what's going on and what we do. You are very, very welcome. Any other questions that maybe you have or would like me to address? You know, see, Richard, that one falls more under terrorism than it does under active shooter. Being aware of what's going on around you and being aware of maybe the possibility of extremists around you, maybe, but for the most part, that's a whole separate ballgame. That's totally terrorism. But yeah, it's something that you should at least be perceiving what's going on around you to people, because if that situation happens to you, if you were situationally aware, you'd be able to respond effectively and fast. The recording will go up, Mary Beth, after the class today. We'll post it on our YouTube channel, so you can go back and watch it. On our YouTube channel, we also have other videos from past webinars, and on our website. So at alamom.com, you can always go there, and then it gives you a link to our YouTube page. So you can look at any past recordings we've done, any past webinars we've done, and get a good idea of that. Our company is located in San Diego, California, but we have reaches all the way out to LA and beyond. So we don't mind the traveling. We don't mind going places. So we have other locations that we work out of in LA, Burbank, Culver City, San Bernardino, Sacramento, and so forth.
There's two questions about weapon policy at work.
Yeah, so weapon policy at work is kind of a unique thing because in some people's mindsets there should be. I mean, I'm not going to get political here, but some people believe good guy with gun. So people who have concealed weapons licenses are able to respond effectively. Yeah, okay, I can see both sides of the argument, not having any and having some people who are. It still doesn't change the fact that work should have a policy that dictates this. So no weapons on the premises unless you this. In most cases, the effective ones that we've seen, people aren't allowed to bring weapons on the premises. If somebody is suspected of bringing one on the premises, then they're allowed to search their vehicle because it's private property and so forth. But there should always be something that says no weapons on the premises, not even in your backpack, locker, etc., car, whatever the case may be. And it's kind of up to your HR and up to you how you want to implement that effectively. But we can talk offline if you send me an email. I have some drafts of some weapon policies that you might like. There's two questions about that, Stephen and Karen, I believe. And I don't like having a permit policy. Most companies, the effective ones, if they do have a permit policy, it depends on what your manner of business is, in reality. But some cases you can't get away with not having someone on premises. You need someone on premises with a weapon. However, those people with weapons usually go through background checks and go through a lot more stuff than just anybody with a gun. So to carry a permit, and even in California, California is probably one of the more strict states. You have to go, it's county specific. You have to go with the county to get a concealed weapons permit. San Diego, they're not really allowing it right now, but other counties are because it's typically ran by the sheriff's department. Now, having someone with a gun, they can save lives, okay? Hands down, they can. I'm not going to argue they can't, but they also have to have the training. So if you're going to have a policy where somebody can, who is permitted, they also need to go through training. And also, on top of that, you need to look into the state stipulations about insurance, because in most cases, if you allow somebody to carry a gun to work who is permitted to have the gun, there's going to be a stipulation where you have to be bonded for at least $1 million. And it depends every single kind of state and county. Hopefully those answer your questions effectively. Well, if there's no more questions, I want to thank everyone for coming out today. I hope you had a good time. You learned a little bit about situational awareness and enough to apply to your everyday life. And I hope you guys are all staying safe and have a great day and a great rest of your month, the beginning of 2017. Let's just hope gun violence goes down this year. And it can with your help, okay? Keep that in mind. You're welcome, guys. You're welcome, Stephen. Just keep in mind that we love this. We love talking about whether we're doing it for free or we're doing it because we're coming out to you. It doesn't matter to us. We love keeping people safe, and we love just decreasing the amount of incidents and decreasing your risk to these incidents. So, thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful day and stay safe.